Hello and welcome. Today we are going to talk all about how to start your home building journey, really deep diving into moving from that dream and making it into a plan. You're going to walk away today with a lot of resources to start to get that planning process going to help you move into that build stage. My name is Holly Mumford. I am the founder at Hereabout. I started this company about 5 years ago, really with the aim to bridge the gap between budget and design for those of you who are looking to build a home. So I like to think about the whole build process in kind of these three distinct phases. This first phase is the dreaming phase, and I think this is probably where most of you are at. This phase is brainstorming. We're just getting ideas. It's flirty, it's fun, it's pretty easy. The world is a little bit of your oyster at this phase. Once we move into that planning stage, reality starts to hit. It becomes a little bit more intimidating. We're looking at some very realistic, some serious planning steps that can kind of hold us back from moving forward in the process, right? Moving from something that's so fun to then a little bit more work can really halt us, and it can kind of scare us off, right? It's intimidating. But on the flip side, it's also really exciting. Real progress is being made in your dream, and real progress is being made towards actually building the home. And then our third and final phase before actually living in your home is the building phase. While it's very fun because we're seeing things really come to fruition, it can also be a bit overwhelming. Right? There's a lot of decisions being made, and there's a lot to keep track of. But it's really fun, and it's really exciting to see your house be built. So we try to help you at each of these phases through our pre-designed home plans. In the dreaming phase, we'll talk about the free resources that we have for you. In this planning phase, we've got a whole planning package to help you with all of our checklists. And then in the building phase, that's where our drawing sets and pre-designed plans help you actually build the home. All right, so your first steps, moving from dreaming into planning. These are the steps that we have laid out. And this is kind of just an overview, but a pretty deep dive overview of the steps that you need before building. While we have all of these steps, a lot of this planning process happens in parallel as things start to get determined and we start to learn more about our own unique project. So step number one, this is the first step that will get us from that dreaming phase and into that planning phase. So step number one, we're going to get your dream on paper. We're going to write it all out, really understand. We're going to get out of Pinterest and we're really going to understand what your program for your house is and what your priorities are. Step number two, this is one that halts a lot of people, really realistically understanding what your budget is. And we have a full checklist for that. Full checklist for all of these steps. Step number three, looking at land. We need a piece of land to build a house on. Very crucial step. Step number four, understanding what your home design is going to be and how you're going to get a home designed. Step number five, who is on your team? So we're going to assemble our team, designer, builder, structural engineer, etc. All right, so in this workshop today, we're going to walk through all of these steps and look at the checklists that we have for you that we'll send along afterwards. So step number one, get your dream on paper. I cannot emphasize this step enough. This is super crucial to understand and get clear about your priorities. Not only is this going to set you up for success in your entire build journey, but it's definitely going to save you money and help you stay on budget. So this exercise helps you get really uber specific about what your building goals, wants, and needs are. It will help you make informed decisions during the entire process and stay really clear and confident in those decisions. And like I said, being as clear and confident in your decisions as you can be will help you save money and stay in budget throughout your whole build process. So we have a whole free workbook that you can use for this exercise. And this is a really nice exercise to use at this beginning stage because it is very fun to do. And it kind of threads that needle between that dreaming phase and that planning phase. Step number 2, and then we move right into budget. Step number 2, understanding your budget. Not quite as fun, but a very important step to get realistic and get started in that planning phase. And don't worry, we're not going to get very specific during this portion, just in this initial stage of planning, right? I want you to just think generally and really just get a big understanding of like, okay, are we looking at $400,000 or $800,000? You know, really trying to grasp like a big general number so that you can make informed decisions in these next stages that we're going to talk about. So we want to understand the budget so that you can understand where you're going to and able to build, who's the right builder for your project, and what you can build. So this workbook or this free action plan that we'll set you up with is you'll start to define how you'll pay for construction through a bank or through cash, and then what your general project is, like I was just talking about, creating just a very rough project budget. And this is also really helpful when you start to, this is the checklist that you'll get. It's really helpful when you also start to talk to architects or look at home plans or talk to builders to give them a sense of what that overall project budget is. They can help narrow in and also help set you up for success under knowing what your general range is. So this is the checklist that you'll use to understand financing. It will walk you through determining how you'll pay for construction and then creating that rough budget. So nothing intimidating here, right? Just a fun checklist. All right, step number 3, finding your land. This is a big one, and a big one right now because land is increasingly, there's less and less of it, and it's getting more expensive as time goes on. So again, we're going to think general, and we're going to think about where you will build your future home, where you want to build your future home. How do you evaluate the land to make sure the lot is right for you? And through the checklist, you'll determine and understand how to start with your end game, meaning how are you going to use the home, right? We want to make sure we're looking at pieces of land that support your dream. For example, if you want to build multiple cabins on a house versus just one single family home, that could determine what piece of land that you are able to build on. And then you really want to evaluate the land for buildability. This checklist is super, super helpful to evaluate land. If you're working with a realtor, they can also help you kind of work through this checklist. But having this in your back pocket is really helpful because you'll be able to understand and just take note of all of the natural characteristics, access, any of the utilities that are part of the land already or that you'll need to prep for, and any regulations. So this all goes back to your priority list, right? If you definitely, one of your top priorities is to build a house with natural surroundings all around it, you're only going to be looking at pieces of land that support that priority. All right, step number 4, we are going to find and understand your home design. So this is really trying to get the design right before you start building. That is something else that I can't emphasize enough. We don't want to be mid-build and changing our minds on things. That's going to destroy your budget. It could destroy relationships, and it's just going to add a lot of unnecessary it's going to add a lot of unnecessary issues in the project. And so this checklist and this step is all about how do you decide what design is right for you? How do you evaluate that design? How much can you invest in the design process? A lot of times the design process is just out of pocket. It's not tied to a loan, which is really helpful to understand. And then what should you look for in a home plan? What kind of home plan and what kind of layout and what kind of home supports you? Again, we're going to go all the way back to that step number 1, all of those priorities, and we're going to use that. That's going to be a crucial element in this step, right? We're going to use all of that information that we laid out and all of that good thought process that we laid out and use it in this step. So determining your investment, this checklist will help us in determining your investment level in design and blueprints, and then using your priorities, like I just mentioned, to narrow down designs. I think this checklist is super helpful also in communicating your needs and wants and dreams to the people that are going to be helping you. So if you are going to work with an architect or a home designer like myself, customizing a home plan, or just for yourself looking for home plans, when you start to engage builders and talk to them, being very clear about all of these things is a gift to them and is a gift to your project, because it will set you all up for success through the correct communication, so that you can be clear on everything. Nobody's confused about what kind of home that you want, because you're going to be clear about what kind of home you want. And if you're not clear, then they can help you with that. So this checklist is all about creating your priority list. So we're going to take all of that stuff from the step 1 and lay it out here. We're going to create the program meeting number of rooms and how they'll be used. So number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, special requests that you really want, and being very critical with yourself. What's flexible, what's a priority, and what's a nice to have. And then determining your minimum and maximum square footage. This is super helpful. And we're going to, again, take pieces from our prior steps. So your construction budget, understanding what your budget is and your square footage costs in your area, and then determining what your square footage goal is. And that will just really help you, again, stay on budget. If we can be clear about a minimum and maximum square footage, that helps everybody on the team. And then reviewing flow and function. This is a really helpful kind of, these are helpful directions of understanding and walking yourself through a home plan to imagine yourself living in it, right? To make sure that the flow and function of that plan will work for you. All right, finally, step number 5, who is on your team? So you're going to assemble your project team. And this is all about teamwork, right? Building a house is all about teamwork. Teamwork is the dream work. So I always suggest to people, hire people that you trust, hire people that you like, because this is a team effort. And then what professionals should you hire? This checklist is going to help you determine who is right for your project, your unique project, who should be on your project team. Typically, at minimum, you're going to have somebody who has designed your home plan or who will design your plan. So either an architect or using a stock plan, or coming to us and saying, hey, we really like this plan. Can we customize it together? Hiring your structural engineer, and this is if needed. Some stock plans like ours have structural engineering built in. And if you do a custom home, you will need a structural engineer. And then number 3, biggest team member of all, hiring your builder or general contractor, the person who will build your home and manage all of the consultants on the build site. And then let's take a look at that free checklist that we have for you. So assembling your team. So really determining who's on your team, This is not an exhaustive list of who you could hire, but this is a pretty good list of folks that could be part of your project team, from realtor to builder. And then hiring the right builder, we have a nice kind of checklist of nice outline of how to match with builders, and the information that they'll want to understand at the very beginning to understand if it's a right fit, simply from timeline, from budget, and the values that you each hold. Okay, so we made it through all of those steps. Like I said, this is a pretty deep dive. These steps are not fluff. Kind of getting all of that information at the get-go of your planning process is really going to help you outline and get you set up for moving into that building stage, hiring your builder, understanding what home plan you're going to use, etc. Now we've got some hot tips for you for each of these phases. You've heard these probably before from me in this workshop, but I always like to reiterate them. So in the dreaming phase, our biggest hot tip is get very, very, very clear on your priorities. Understand what your main priority is, all the way to your third priority, and some fun priorities after that you could live without or you could live with. Don't skip this step. In the planning process, our biggest hot tip is really lean into taking baby steps, right? All of these checklists that we have for you, it doesn't mean they're going to happen during a long stretch of time, right? So really just lean into kind of checking one off at a time and taking those baby steps. And if you could do one check every week, then at the end of 3 months, you'll have all of those checklists done. So break it down. We've tried to break it down into really small baby steps for you so that it's not as intimidating as it could be. And then our biggest hot tip in the building process, teamwork is the dream work. Lean into that. Use your resources that you have for your build team. Trust your build team and stay as organized as possible. All right, and so in this planning process, we have our planning set that is available for any of our home plans, and this is a really helpful initial set of drawings for you to use. It includes floor plans, exterior elevations, a roof plan, window and door schedules, and a couple sections through the house. And this initial set of drawings will really help you in a couple different dimensions during this planning phase. It's great to send over for initial conversations with builders to break the ice and get interest in your project. You can start to confirm feasibility in your jurisdiction with sharing this set of drawings with your HOA, with town permitting, to make sure that you can build it in your jurisdiction. It's also really, really helpful for getting a local general cost to build estimate from your list of potential builders, or just running it by a builder that you're interested in working with. I always say if somebody's coming and they've got a tighter budget, to share that planning set, even if they want to customize the house with us, share that planning set, understand what this house is going to cost for you and your priorities and your goals with a builder in your area that you're excited to work with, so that you can make sure that it's in your general range of budget before we start to customize. And then, of course, when you're ready to move into that build phase, you'll upgrade to that build set that we have, which is that complete comprehensive set of drawings that you'll need to build the house. Okay, so that brings us to our final question. Based on all of that, what will you do first in this whole planning process? What will you do first? Pick one thing right now, and then when will you do it by? Write it down, put it in your calendar. You can even email me and I'll follow up with you and say, hey, how'd that first step go? But I'm really excited for everybody to use all of these tools to help them kind of push the needle in their planning process and get started on your dream to build your home. Have a great day, and please feel free to email me with any questions, any considerations, and I look forward to talking to you. Bye.